All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome to FinAid Fridays. My name is Danielle. I am the financial literacy coordinator here in the Office of Student Financial Aid. If you are looking to get help in getting your 26-27 financial aid application started, you are in the right place. So thanks for being here this Friday afternoon. As you can see, we have a QR code on the title screen along with the URL for you to sign in. If you could do so, here's your chance now. We'll also have a sign in at the end in case you don't get a chance to do that right away. I'll give it just one moment. We're going to have plenty of time towards the end of the session to answer any questions. So if you have something that pops up along the way, go ahead and take note of that, and we can circle back to questions and answers towards the end of the session. Okay, without further ado, I do want to thank my colleagues for being here also with us. We have my colleague Joseph Toro. He'll be assisting in the chat. So if you do see a link or URL on the screen, he should be helping out by throwing those into the chat as well. So you can pick those up from there. Okay, so and without it skipping ahead a bunch of slides. All right. So, what we want you to know is that you're not having to do this alone. FAFSA and financial aid can seem like it's a scary thing, but we have a full staff of counselors here to help you. And however you need that help, if you just have questions, if you like to do workshops like FinAid Fridays, there's a multitude of ways that you can reach out to us when you do need the help. We do have a little bit of interactivity going on. So I know we have a small group, but we kind of just want to find out who we are, chatting with, how, if you have experience already completing a financial aid application. So go ahead and get close to your device and answer the survey questions so we can see who we have on our session today. All right. So, yes, we have some FAFSA or California Dream applicant experts with us. So, I think we might just have some curious people wondering about what's new, making sure they're doing all the right things to stay on track for the 26-27 award year. So, congratulations. I'm glad to know that you have some familiarity with doing the financial aid application. And we will go ahead and proceed. So, today, we are going to cover how to prepare for the 26-27 financial aid application, let you know what's new for the 26-27 application cycle, how you can get further support in order to stay on track to get your application submitted before the California priority deadline of March 2nd, and then plenty of time towards the end to answer any questions or any concerns that you might have about completing your financial aid application. There's another chance for you to take the sign-in URL. And without further ado, as people that have already done a financial aid application previously, you likely already know the application that you will apply to. What you might not know yet, though, however, is that there is something new where the California Dream Act application is now open technically to all California students from mixed status families. So we know with some of the political climate out there that there may be some hesitations from students from mixed status families to be completing a FAFSA. If that applies to you or you want to talk to a financial aid staff person further about that opportunity, please do reach out to us. But there is an opportunity to complete the CATA instead of the FAFSA, but not the other way around. So if you're only eligible to complete the CATA, the California Dream Act application, you would not have the option or choice to complete a FAFSA also. When you do apply for financial aid, this does unlock eligibility to receive grants, loans, and work study opportunities. We want you to apply each year that you plan to be a student, even if you think you don't qualify or won't qualify for any gift aid. We don't want you to leave anything potentially that you could get on the table. So always remember to complete your application. And always remember to remind all your friends that are in school to complete their financial aid applications before the California priority deadline of March 2nd. Key deadlines and the timeline for the 2026-27 award cycle. The FAFSA and DREAM Act application are both open. Generally, the opening date is October 1st. The FAFSA opened a little bit earlier this year, and then the DREAM Act followed on the 1st. We will drill in this March 2nd deadline because it's super important for our applicants and our California residents, especially if you're eligible to receive Cal Grant or middle class scholarship funding. It's essential that you always apply before that deadline. We plan to be rolling out preliminary award offers sometime in mid to late January. So if you complete your FAFSA before the end of the year, it's probably going to be some information coming for you by the middle to end of January. And then the FAFSA does have a final deadline, and I do catch a typo here. That should actually be 2026. June 30th, 2026, it's when the FAFSA officially closes. If you find yourself completing the FAFSA sometime between March 3rd and June 30th, that just means that you're going to only be considered for federal aid. Applying before March 2nd ensures that you're considered for federal, state, and institutional aid sources. What is new for the 26-27 cycle? Well, the good news is that a major overhaul was already done a couple of years ago. That was part of the FAFSA Simplification Act, which was designed to streamline the process. So hopefully it's made applying for aid faster and easier for you all. So we're just doing some fine tuning this year for this cycle. One of the things that has been made easier is to invite a contributor. Now you only need to enter an email. It doesn't even have to be the email that is associated with their FSA account. It will find them, and then they were able to log in through their FSA ID via that invite. If a contributor, or if this is your first time setting up an FSA ID, which is your first step for FAFSA, there is a quicker process to get your identity verified. So hopefully that reduces the delays in getting the application started for some of our newer applicants. Family assets, some of these are no longer counting. Like if you had a family-owned small business, you no longer have to report the net worth. Or if you own a family farm where the family lives, or a family commercial business, those are all assets that will be now excluded from your SAI calculation. I will talk about the SAI here in just a moment, and then lastly, news about Pell Grant eligibility changes. Foreign earned income will be now back into the equation. Previously, it had been excluded from the income and in the FAFSA, and now it is being taken back into account. And then there's also going to be limits of Pell Grant eligibility for students who have the student aid index number that is twice the amount of the maximum Pell Grant amount. So if the Pell Grant amount for next year is $7,395, any SAI that comes in above $14,790 will not be Pell eligible. All right, we are ready to get started on the FAFSA, and these are the checklist items that you'll need to have ready in order to do your application. One, you either create or retrieve your FSA ID. If you all have already done a FAFSA, then you already have an FSA ID, so you'll want to locate that sign in. So that way you can access the 26-27 application. Your parent would need also an FSA ID. If you're a student that's married, you may need your spouse to also set up an account if you did not file jointly. 2025 or 2026-27 FAFSA is going to be looking at 2024 income and tax information. So we'll want you to have your 2024 tax returns handy. You won't have to manually enter it in, but it is good to have on hand because there's some other information you may need to get from that. Of course, if you have W-2s, also your current bank account balances, your social security number, have those all ready for the application. Next, if you are a student under the age of 24, you'll want to confirm your dependency status and note whether you'll need to ask a contributor to contribute information on your FAFSA. Before we get into the dependency status, why don't we do our quick poll question to see where we are at on creating a FSA ID. So my feeling is that we're going to get all yeses on this answer. One yes, two yeses. All right. All right. Well, I'm going to guess our third person is also has an FSA ID if they've completed their FAFSA previously. So thank you for that, Cher. Why don't we go and talk about a little bit more about the dependency status. So this is something that is actually determined inside the application through a series of questions. We will usually see that a dependent student will be under the age of 24, that they are not married or a parent, and that they're pursuing their first bachelor's degree. If an independent student is generally going to be a student over the age of 24, maybe they are married and 19, or a parent and 21 years old, or they've already graduated with their first bachelor's and are now pursuing a post-bac or grad program. The system will then identify them as an independent student. Independent students do not need to provide their parents information. However, if the independent student is married, and as mentioned, if you did not file jointly with that spouse, then that spouse would need to be listed as a contributor on your application. If you do need help in determining which parent is a contributor, so you already know that you'll need your parents' information, but your parents are not married, or maybe they are divorced and remarried, you can follow this link here to be able to determine which parent would be the parent that you would ask to contribute information on the FAFSA. It's also built into the application there. So when you get to that section, it will be there to help walk you through there. All right, so after that, we should be pretty close to getting ready to file. We don't want you to be waiting until March, so always plan to get it done as soon as you can. And you'll go ahead and make your way either to studentaid.gov for your FAFSA application, or if you're a DREAM applicant, then you will go to the dream.csac.ca.gov. Make sure that you are selecting the 2026-27 year. The current award year is still open, so just make sure you're going to the future one. If you haven't done this year's FAFSA, it's not too late, so you can do both, but we want you to make sure that you're doing the 26-27 so you can get it done before the March 2nd deadline. Within the application, you will be asked to provide consent to transfer your tax information from 2024. So we're using the 2024 year because 2025 taxes have not been filed yet. And when you consent to this transfer, it's going to pull in your income information, tax information directly through this data exchange. If you did not earn in 2024 or work in 2024, you still consent. They just won't have any information to retrieve, but you still need to consent to the transfer. Then there's a section that you're going to be listing the schools that you would be interested in attending. If you're a current SF State student, you're going to stay with us, then you just need to select us as your school, either through the drop down to find San Francisco State University or using our school code there. It's important to note that if you are going to be doing the DREAM Act application, that there are, even though the application is pretty much modeled after the FAFSA, there are some slight differences. One, you won't log in through an FSA ID, so you and or your contributors won't need to do that step. And then also, there is no tax transfer that you consent to within the DREAM Act application. You would need to be prepared to enter that information in manually. But most of the other application is aligned to be mirroring the FAFSA. So halfway through being ready to file your FAFSA after entering your schools, you're going to sign, submit, and then invite your contributor. Remember, it's a lot easier to invite a contributor now. You can put in any email address and they'll get that invite and be able to access their part of the application. That's what you'll want to make sure that they do get that invite so that they can complete their part. Consent. Without consent, your application will be considered incomplete. So you won't be getting a financial aid offer if the consent is not provided. And then after the contributor does their part, signs everything, we want you to be in and submitted, and then to review all the information to ensure that it is complete and correct. We do have some resources we're going to tell you about, but also just to point out if you are completing a California Dream Act application, we have a workshop, or you can also attend to complete your FAFSA. It's going to be this Tuesday on campus, in person at the Dream Resource Center, or SSB 206. So if you'd like some more information on that, we can point you to that at the end of the session. So you know what you need to do in order to submit your application, and now we want you to know what you would be expecting after you submit. And congratulations would be in due for completing that. And then you're on your way to having your financial aid eligibility determined. And the schools that you included on the application are going to be sent your financial aid information. You're going to receive a student aid index number. This is a number that's very important that determines the type of financial aid that you're going to receive. And then there's also a federal student aid estimator that you can use. I'll have that on one of the next slides, but that's a step that you can do along the way. And then we plan to be sending out preliminary award offers mid to late January. So we'll want you to be checking your SFSU email and your Gateway's to-do list on a regular basis. So one more third poll question for you here is, when are you planning to complete your financial aid application? It's a trick question. Mhm. All right. Woo, we have people that are not going to wait until March, and that's what music to my ears. So we have plans to be completing this application ASAP. All righty. Definitely glad to see that. That's the right answer. And then we also want you to encourage all your friends that are in school, whether they're at SF State or any other school, to just remind them to be doing their financial aid applications as early as possible each year. All right. And why don't we take a look a little bit, a deeper dive about the SAI. In financial aid, we love our acronyms, but SAI stands for Student Aid Index. This is a number. The SAI replaced something that we knew formerly as the EFC, Expected Family Contribution. And what it is it's simply a threshold number that gets to define the type of financial aid that you will receive. The SAI can be as low as a negative 1,500, and that would indicate students that have the highest financial need. The SAI is not a dollar amount of what you will pay for college. It's not an amount in the aid that you're going to receive, and it's not a measure of just the family's income alone. One known thing is that if you do get an SAI between 0 and negative 1,500, you're pursuing your first bachelor's, you're going to be enrolled full time. A couple of other things that are important to note. Undergraduate student, that we already know that you would be eligible for the maximum Pell Grant amount for this upcoming year, which is going to be $7,395, which is the same as it was this year. As mentioned, the federal student aid estimator, this will help you estimate your federal aid. So what you're not going to see from this is your potential Cal grant or your state university grant or middle class scholarships. It's just going to let you know basically if you're going to be eligible for a Pell Grant. So you can do a check-in on that. And then keep checking your SF State email and gateway, especially when it starts hitting mid-January, because you should see some financial aid information coming up. All right, so you found your way to FinAid Fridays for today, and we wanted you to know that we have several more sessions throughout the rest of the year that are here to help you, especially if you would like to get a comprehensive walkthrough of the FAFSA, where we go through the prototype slide by slide, screen by screen, and go through the questions individually. So that way you know you're completing everything to the best of your ability. So those walkthroughs are scheduled on November 7th and November 21st. FinAid Fridays are always at 2 p.m. and we're always using the same link. So if you want to, bookmark the link that you're at right now, or, take that QR code down, that's how you're going to find us back here in 2 weeks from today with my colleague Joseph presenting on the walkthrough. If you have parents and they're uncertain or would like further support in completing their section, we have a session for them on December 5th. So if you go home for Thanksgiving, my idea is that you tell mom and dad that we got to make sure that they complete their part of the application. And if they would like to get our support or help in that walkthrough, they would plan to join us on December 5th at 2 p.m. We do record most of our FinAid Fridays, so if you can't make it in the future at 2 p.m. or parents are working that afternoon, we will record most of the sessions and try to get those posted on our website within a few days of the date that we presented on. Also, we have financial aid drop-in and Zoom advising. So if you have a particular question or concern, maybe you're hitting a roadblock or speed bump along the way of completing your FAFSA and you really need to get some one-on-one help for that. We do this Monday through Friday. Anytime that the campus is open, Monday through Friday, we are doing Zoom advising drop-in first come, first serve between 1 and 4 o'clock. So we can help you either share screen or have you share a screen and help you get through whatever is holding you up. And then lastly, this is my final poll question, is whether you have a plan to join us at one of these upcoming sessions. So promise this is the last poll question of the session. All right, we've got one of every answer. All right, somebody says they are going to show up. Another person says they're confident that they can complete the application on their own, and the third person is still going to be deciding. But you can decide all the way up until November 7th or November 21st, or even after if you'd like to catch our recording on the YouTube channel. So lastly, if you'd like to get a hold of us outside of Zoom advising, there's other ways that you can reach us through email, calling. Usually our phone hours are about 9 to 4 Monday through Friday, well, 9 to 4 Monday through Thursday, and 10 to 4 on Fridays. So our phone lines are still open this afternoon until 4. If you find yourself in the neighborhood, stop by. We are on the ground floor at the Student Services Building, where you can see not just financial aid, but you can visit with the admissions office, with the registrar, with our veterans colleagues, and then, of course, the Zoom advising I mentioned. And our website is a comprehensive resource for everything we talked about today and more. So that brings us to our final slide with our FinAid Fridays schedule and a last chance to do a sign in to join in on the raffle. So I will go ahead and end that poll and stop the recording so that way we can get into the Q&A.